You've spent your life cultivating intelligence. You've read countless books, pondered deep philosophical questions, and understood the complexities of the world in ways others can't. Your intellect has allowed you to achieve things others can only dream of. People admire you for your brilliance, and society often elevates those who can think critically and solve problems. Yet, as you look around, you notice something unsettling. You feel more alone than ever before. You've spent your life striving for knowledge, success, and recognition. Yet, in the quiet moments, when all the accolades fade and the noise of the world subsides, you are confronted with a profound sense of isolation. Despite being surrounded by people, despite being revered for your intellect, there's an unshakable feeling that you are somehow apart from everyone else. This is the paradox that highly intelligent individuals often face. Intelligence, which is usually celebrated, becomes a source of disconnection. It's a paradox that doesn't make sense at first. How can something so valued, something that sets you apart from others in such a positive way, also create such profound loneliness? On the surface, intelligence is an asset. It's a trait that is associated with success, respect, and influence. Intellectuals, scholars, and innovators are revered in society. They are the ones who drive progress, uncover truths, and lead change. But for many of these very individuals, intelligence can feel like a double-edged sword. As you gain more knowledge, you begin to see the world differently, more clearly, more deeply. You recognize patterns that others miss, and you are aware of the complexities and contradictions of life in ways that are almost unbearable at times. But what happens when the gap between your awareness and the awareness of others becomes too wide? What happens when your insights are misunderstood or dismissed? Suddenly, intelligence, the thing that was supposed to bring you connection and success, becomes the very thing that isolates you from others. You might feel misunderstood, unable to communicate your thoughts without being judged or dismissed. People might admire your intelligence but fail to connect with you on an emotional level. They may not understand your deeper reflections, and this lack of understanding can create a barrier between you and the rest of the world. This emotional tension is where the real conflict lies. On one hand, you are praised for your intellect, and you often receive the external validation that most people crave. Yet, on the other hand, you feel increasingly alienated, as if there is a wall between you and everyone else. There's a growing awareness that, no matter how much you achieve or how much knowledge you accumulate, it doesn't seem to fill the emotional void. In some ways, intelligence becomes a trap. The more you know, the less you feel you can share with others. The gap between your thoughts and their understanding widens, creating a feeling of disconnection. This can lead to a deep sense of existential isolation, where you begin to question whether your intelligence is truly an asset or if it is, in fact, an insurmountable barrier. As you look around, you may see others, those with less intellectual depth or insight, enjoying social connections, forming bonds, and participating in the simple joys of life. And yet you, with your intellectual brilliance, can't seem to find the same level of connection. This is the tragedy of intelligence. The more you know, the more you realize just how different you are from everyone else. This leads us to the central question: why does intelligence, despite its advantages, often push people into isolation, creating a barrier between themselves and others? Why does something that sets people apart in such a positive way become a source of profound loneliness? Why, despite being surrounded by friends, colleagues, and admirers, do many intelligent people feel disconnected from the world around them? The answer is complex, and it lies in the very nature of human connection. To truly understand this paradox, we must look deeper into the psychology of intelligence and the ways in which society and culture shape our relationships with those who are different from us. This question is not just about loneliness, it's about understanding the price of intelligence and how it shapes the way we see the world, relate to others, and ultimately see ourselves. It's about understanding the inherent tension that comes from being both admired and alienated, and why this paradox exists at the heart of intellectual development. To understand why intelligence often leads to isolation, we must first look at the deeper psychological and philosophical roots of this issue. What is it about intelligence that drives such disconnection? How do societal forces, human nature, and the very way we view ourselves and others contribute to this paradox? The answer lies not only in the intellectual world, but in the way intelligence interacts with human psychology, societal expectations, and our need for belonging. Intelligence, in its simplest form, is the ability to understand, learn, and apply knowledge. But when we dig deeper, we see that it is more than just intellectual capacity. It is a way of perceiving the world. Highly intelligent individuals often experience the world differently, not only because they can process more information, but because they have a heightened awareness of its complexities. They see patterns others miss, recognize contradictions that others overlook, and are constantly aware of the deeper implications of the things happening around them. This heightened perception is not always a gift. While intelligence allows individuals to solve problems, innovate, and excel in their fields, it also brings a certain burden. Schopenhauer, the German philosopher known for his pessimistic view of human nature, believed that greater awareness of the world often leads to greater suffering. The more we understand, the more we see the world's inherent flaws, the suffering of others, and the futility of existence. For Schopenhauer, this awareness is tied to the human condition. The more we know, the more we realize how little we control and how uncertain everything is. It is in this tension between knowledge and acceptance of life's inherent limitations that intelligent individuals often find themselves trapped. The more they know, the more they see the suffering around them, and the less they are able to connect with those who are unaware of these existential truths. The relationship between intelligence and meaning is also a crucial factor. According to Carl Jung, one of the leading figures in psychology, individuals who are deeply intellectual often struggle with a sense of purpose. Jung argued that intelligence without introspection and self-understanding can become a double-edged sword. Intelligent people may have the cognitive capacity to analyze the world, but if they fail to connect with their deeper, emotional selves, they may feel unfulfilled or disconnected. This disconnection between mind and emotion, between intellectual understanding and emotional fulfillment, is one of the hidden problems that leads to isolation. The intelligent individual, aware of their own intellectual superiority, may feel that they are unable to communicate or relate to others who don't share the same depth of understanding. This creates a barrier, where even though they are surrounded by people, they feel profoundly alone because their experiences and insights are beyond the comprehension of those around them. The more intelligent a person becomes, the more they are likely to question the assumptions that most people accept without thinking. Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher who famously critiqued traditional values and morality, argued that such questioning is often isolating. Nietzsche saw those who transcend conventional thought, the free spirits, or the Übermensch, as people who must grapple with the weight of their own insight. To see beyond societal norms and expectations is a gift, but it also comes with a cost. As Nietzsche wrote, "He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster." In this sense, intelligence can be a double-edged sword. It allows one to see beyond the veil of illusion that most people live under, but it also makes it difficult to fit in with a world that is shaped by these illusions. As intelligent individuals question the values, customs, and structures that most people take for granted, they risk becoming isolated from society. Their insights can alienate them, leaving them with the uncomfortable realization that their elevated understanding of the world puts them at odds with those who do not share this perspective. The societal conditioning that exists around intelligence also plays a critical role in the isolation of highly intelligent people. Society often elevates intelligence to a position of reverence. People admire intellectual achievements and associate intelligence with success. Yet, this admiration for intellect often masks a deeper unease. Those who are highly intelligent are often viewed as different, and their differences can lead to discomfort or fear in others. This social discomfort is compounded by the fact that society often places a higher value on practical success, social conformity, and material wealth. In contrast, intellectual pursuits that do not immediately yield tangible rewards or social approval may be undervalued. Intelligent individuals may struggle to find meaningful connections in a world that values conformity over individuality, material success over intellectual achievement. This dissonance creates a sense of alienation, where the intelligent individual is caught between two worlds, one that demands conformity and another that values intellectual independence but offers little social connection. Over time, this constant tension can erode self-esteem, making intelligent people feel misunderstood, unappreciated, and increasingly isolated. At the heart of this issue lies a deep psychological fear, the fear of being misunderstood. Intelligent individuals often find themselves in a perpetual state of needing to explain their thoughts, but feeling that no one can truly understand the depth of their reasoning. This fear of being misunderstood compounds the sense of isolation. The more one tries to explain their complex thoughts and ideas, the more they may feel like they are speaking a language that no one else understands. This fear leads to a form of self-imposed isolation. Intelligent people may choose to withdraw from social interactions because they anticipate rejection or misinterpretation. Over time, this self-imposed isolation becomes a way of protecting themselves from the pain of being misunderstood. But in doing so, they further entrench themselves in their solitude, perpetuating the cycle of loneliness. Intelligence, in its most isolated form, can also wreak havoc on personal relationships. When one partner in a relationship is far more intelligent than the other, there is often a power imbalance. The highly intelligent partner may feel superior, while the other person may feel inadequate or incapable of keeping up with intellectual conversations. This dynamic can create tension, insecurity, and a lack of genuine emotional connection. On the other hand, the intelligent individual may feel frustrated that their partner cannot engage in deep, meaningful conversations or share their intellectual insights. This frustration often turns inward, leading to feelings of isolation even in the midst of a relationship. The lack of true intellectual connection can make the intelligent person feel that they are not truly seen or understood by those closest to them. Intelligence, while often perceived as a blessing, quietly shapes the lives of highly intellectual individuals in ways that are not immediately apparent. The unseen consequences of intelligence extend beyond mere isolation. They influence personal behavior, societal roles, and even self-identity in ways that are profoundly impactful. In this section, we will explore how this cognitive gift silently traps individuals in emotional, psychological, and societal entanglements, shaping their lives in ways that may seem invisible, yet profoundly altering. One of the primary consequences of heightened intelligence is the cognitive burden, the weight of knowing too much. When you are aware of the world's flaws, contradictions, and injustices in ways that others are not, it can feel like a constant battle against the tide of ignorance and complacency. Knowledge becomes a burden because it forces you to confront uncomfortable truths, leaving little room for the blissful ignorance that others often enjoy. Carl Jung famously stated, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But in a world where most people are content with surface-level understanding, those who see beyond the veil are often faced with existential anguish. Intelligent individuals are burdened by the awareness of life's absurdities, the meaningless suffering, the inevitable decline, and the limitations of human existence. In a sense, the more you know, the more you realize how little you can control, which exacerbates feelings of helplessness and frustration. As an intelligent person, you see the complexities of human nature and societal structures more clearly. but this clarity often leads to disillusionment. The disillusionment then brings a sense of emotional heaviness, as intelligent individuals may feel powerless in the face of widespread ignorance or social indifference. This constant awareness, without the ability to change the underlying systems, becomes an emotional burden that is rarely recognized by those who live in ignorance or simplicity. One of the most insidious consequences of intelligence is the emotional disconnect that arises from it. While intelligent individuals are often surrounded by people who admire their intellect, these relationships are often shallow or emotionally unfulfilling. The gap between intellectual depth and emotional connection is often vast, and this divide can create a silent rift between intelligent individuals and those around them. In relationships, this disconnect manifests in different ways. A highly intelligent person may feel that their intellectual capacity isolates them from their peers, friends, and even family. The more they attempt to explain their thoughts, the more they notice a lack of understanding or empathy. This emotional isolation leads to feelings of frustration as the intelligent person realizes that their most profound insights may never be fully understood by others. As a result, they may retreat further into themselves, preferring solitude over the frustration of trying to connect with people who don't see the world through the same lens. Jean-Paul Sartre, in his existential philosophy, spoke of the gaze of the other, the way our perception of others' judgments shapes our own identity. For intelligent individuals, this gaze often reinforces feelings of alienation. The more one is aware of their intellectual superiority, the more they become self-conscious of their difference, and this awareness creates emotional distance from others. The emotional toll of this disconnect is often overlooked, yet it subtly drives many intelligent individuals toward loneliness, even in social settings. Intelligence also carries an existential dilemma: the loss of meaning in success. As intelligent individuals achieve academic, professional, or personal success, they often experience a profound sense of emptiness. When one has the capacity to achieve almost anything, but the accomplishments feel hollow, the question arises, what is the point? Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most influential philosophers on the nature of human existence, understood this dilemma. In his work, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, Nietzsche speaks of the Übermensch, or overman, an individual who transcends societal limitations and creates their own values. But Nietzsche also warned of the consequences of achieving greatness without a sense of deeper purpose, an idea he called the death of God. The more one achieves without a deeper sense of meaning, the more one can feel empty despite external success. This is the paradox of intelligence. It allows you to accomplish much, but it also magnifies the emptiness that often accompanies those accomplishments. Success, when viewed solely through the lens of external validation, becomes less fulfilling, and intelligent individuals may find themselves perpetually chasing an elusive sense of satisfaction. Another unseen consequence of heightened intelligence is the constant cycle of self-reflection. Highly intelligent individuals are often prone to introspection. While this introspection can lead to personal growth and self-awareness, it can also become a trap. The more you analyze your own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, the more you risk overthinking every action and decision, leading to feelings of self-doubt and confusion. Viktor Frankl, the renowned psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, introduced the concept of logotherapy, a form of existential analysis focused on finding meaning in life. Frankl believed that individuals could overcome suffering by finding meaning in their experiences. However, constant overanalysis, without the ability to let go, can hinder this process. For intelligent individuals, the tendency to overanalyze can prevent them from simply living in the moment and experiencing life as it is, rather than constantly trying to dissect it. Overthinking can lead to feelings of paralysis, where the individual is trapped in their own mind, unable to take action or move forward. This mental paralysis is often invisible to others, who may see the intelligent person as having it all together, But beneath the surface, the individual is stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and internal conflict. Finally, highly intelligent individuals often believe they must rely solely on themselves to solve their problems, given their ability to process and understand complex issues. However, this self-sufficiency can become isolating. The belief that I must do it all myself leads to an avoidance of help, creating a silent barrier between the individual and others. This self-reliance, while empowering, also perpetuates a sense of isolation. The intelligent person, believing they have all the answers, may refuse help even when it's offered, leading to further emotional alienation. Over time, this belief in their own independence can make them feel even more disconnected from others, as they believe no one can understand or help them. The intelligent individual, trapped in the web of intellectual isolation and emotional disconnect, faces an existential dilemma: how to break free from the cycle of solitude, alienation, and self-doubt that intelligence often brings. The answer lies not in rejecting intelligence, but in redefining its role and embracing a new perspective that allows for both intellectual freedom and authentic human connection. In this section, we will explore how the highly intelligent can reclaim their lives from the grip of isolation, transforming the very force that once separated them from others into a path toward deeper meaning and connection. The first step in breaking free from the trap of intellectual isolation is to reframe the concept of isolation itself. While societal norms often associate solitude with loneliness, there is a profound power in embracing solitude as a space for self-discovery and growth. Schopenhauer, despite his pessimism, believed that solitude was essential for intellectual and personal freedom. He argued that the truly wise individual seeks solitude to cultivate deeper understanding and creative potential, rather than succumbing to the noise of societal expectations. Solitude, when chosen, becomes a sanctuary, not a prison. For the intelligent individual, embracing solitude allows for deeper self-reflection, creativity, and intellectual exploration without the distractions and limitations imposed by social conventions. Rather than viewing isolation as a punishment, it can be seen as an opportunity for renewal and transformation. In fact, many of history's greatest thinkers and artists, from Nietzsche to Van Gogh, thrived in solitude, finding strength in the space it gave them to cultivate their ideas. Embracing solitude gives the intellectual individual the freedom to explore their own thoughts and desires without the pressure to conform to external expectations. It is a form of self-liberation, where the mind is free to wander and explore without judgment or limitation. Another crucial shift in perspective for breaking free from intellectual isolation is moving from intellectual superiority to emotional depth. Intelligence is often equated with rationality, logic, and knowledge. Yet, as Carl Jung and many other psychologists have pointed out, true self-knowledge and wisdom lie not only in intellectual understanding but in emotional awareness. The highly intelligent person must learn to integrate their intellect with their emotions, embracing not only the mind but also the heart. This integration of intellect and emotion requires vulnerability, the willingness to acknowledge and explore the emotional experiences that come with being human. Instead of seeing emotions as a weakness or distraction from intellectual pursuits, intelligent individuals must learn to embrace their feelings, including fear, sadness, and longing. These emotions are not obstacles to intellect, but vital components of a well-rounded human experience. Jungian psychology stresses the importance of self-integration, where the conscious intellect and unconscious emotional world come into balance. The intellectual person must confront the shadow, the unconscious aspects of themselves that they may have ignored or rejected in pursuit of intellectual clarity. In doing so, they begin to see themselves as whole beings, capable of not just understanding the world intellectually, but connecting to it emotionally and spiritually. One of the most important aspects of breaking free from intellectual isolation is learning to build meaningful relationships with others. In a world that often values shallow interactions, intellectuals may struggle to find connections that feel authentic or fulfilling. But true connection doesn't lie in superficial conversations or societal status. It lies in the depth of shared experience, vulnerability, and understanding. Building meaningful relationships requires a shift in focus from intellectual validation to emotional connection. The highly intelligent individual must learn to appreciate others for their emotional depth, not just their intellectual capacity. It's not about finding people who can match your intellect, but finding people who can meet you on a deeper level, who understand your emotional world and can offer their own vulnerability in return. This shift also involves letting go of the need to constantly prove one's intellectual worth. Relationships thrive when both parties are able to share without the fear of judgment or competition. The intelligent individual must learn to listen, to be present, and to engage emotionally rather than just intellectually. By embracing the full spectrum of human interaction, they open themselves up to deeper, more fulfilling relationships that go beyond intellectual discussions. To truly break free from the isolating effects of intelligence, the individual must also reclaim control over their own narrative. Intelligence, when unchecked, can create a mindset of self-imposed superiority, where the individual feels burdened by their awareness and detached from the world around them. By reframing their perspective, intelligent individuals can reclaim their power and move beyond the limitations they've placed on themselves. One way to do this is by shifting the focus from intellectual achievement to personal growth and self-expression. Intelligence becomes a tool for growth, not a measure of superiority. This shift allows the individual to see that the value of their existence is not determined by how much they know or how intellectually superior they are, but by how they engage with the world and the depth of their experience. Viktor Frankl's work in logotherapy offers a profound example of how intelligence can be used for personal growth. Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, argued that the meaning of life is not found in success or material achievement, but in the ability to find purpose in suffering and adversity. Frankl's concept of tragic optimism speaks directly to the intelligent person's dilemma. Rather than seeing intelligence as a burden, they must learn to use it as a means of creating meaning in a world that often seems devoid of it. One of the most powerful ways for intelligent individuals to break free from isolation is by embracing the role of the outsider. Instead of fighting against their natural tendency to be different, they can embrace this difference as a source of power. The intelligent individual, when they stop trying to conform to societal norms or expectations, begins to see themselves as a creator of their own path. In a way, isolation becomes a form of freedom. The outsider, in this sense, is not someone who is excluded, but someone who has stepped outside the constraints of societal expectations to forge their own identity. This mindset allows intelligent individuals to transform their perceived isolation into a source of strength, creativity, and self-expression. As Nietzsche famously said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." For the intelligent individual, embracing their uniqueness and finding their purpose outside the bounds of societal convention is the key to breaking free from isolation. By embracing their role as the outsider, they can reconnect with their true self, regain control over their life, and create a more meaningful existence. The journey toward understanding the true nature of intelligence and its relationship to isolation leads to a powerful realization. Intelligence, when harnessed correctly, is not a barrier, but a gateway to profound personal freedom and connection. The most significant shift that intelligent individuals can make is the realization that their intellect does not have to isolate them. Instead, by embracing their unique perspective and rejecting the societal need for validation, they can create a life of deep fulfillment, meaningful connections, and inner peace. The ultimate truth about intelligence and isolation is rooted in self-acceptance. The intelligent individual must come to terms with the fact that their mind, their perception, and their way of engaging with the world are unique, and this uniqueness is both their strength and their source of isolation. However, instead of viewing this difference as something to overcome, it must be embraced as a powerful tool for self-expression and personal growth. For many, the path to self-acceptance begins with acknowledging the value of their perspective. It is easy to get caught in the trap of self-criticism, constantly measuring oneself against the standards of others. The intelligent person may feel frustrated when their ideas are misunderstood or dismissed, but the key to breaking free from this frustration is realizing that their unique perspective is valuable, even if others cannot immediately see it. Carl Jung's work on individuation provides an essential framework for understanding how intelligent individuals can embrace their unique qualities. Individuation, the process by which a person integrates the various aspects of their personality and becomes their authentic self, is critical for anyone who feels isolated because of their intelligence. Through individuation, the individual learns to accept all parts of themselves, both the intellectual and emotional, the conscious and unconscious, which allows them to form deeper connections with themselves and others. As intelligent individuals move through life, they often internalize the belief that they are different from others, that their intelligence makes them superior, but also more isolated. This belief is rooted in a false sense of powerlessness, a sense that their intelligence is something that is out of their control, something that causes them to be apart from the rest of humanity. The truth, however, is that intelligence is merely a tool, just like any other part of the self. When used consciously and purposefully, it becomes a powerful force for personal liberation and growth. Viktor Frankl's concept of tragic optimism is essential in this context. Frankl believed that even in the face of suffering and isolation, individuals can choose to find meaning. In a similar way, the intelligent individual can choose to see their isolation as a source of strength. Instead of allowing intelligence to become a burden, they can use it to transcend societal expectations and discover a deeper, more authentic way of living. The realization that intelligence is not a curse, but a source of power and freedom marks the final breakthrough for intelligent individuals. Once they embrace their intellect and stop seeing it as a cause for separation, they can unlock the true potential of their minds, creating not only a more fulfilling life, but also one in which they can contribute meaningfully to the world around them. One of the most liberating aspects of embracing the isolation that comes with intelligence is the freedom of solitude. Society often views isolation as a negative state, but for the intelligent individual, it can be a profound opportunity for reflection, creativity, and self-discovery. When embraced consciously, solitude becomes a space for personal growth and clarity, away from the noise and distractions of the outside world. Schopenhauer, a philosopher who deeply understood the struggles of the intellectual mind, emphasized the importance of solitude for intellectual and artistic creativity. For him, it was in the quiet moments of solitude that true wisdom could emerge. This resonates deeply with the intelligent individual who feels misunderstood by others. The key is to reframe solitude as a space for growth, not a punishment. When solitude is embraced willingly, it becomes a powerful tool for self-exploration and personal expression. This shift in perspective, the understanding that isolation can be chosen and used purposefully, empowers intelligent individuals to live more freely. Rather than feeling trapped by their intellect, they can view it as a key to unlocking a deeper, more meaningful connection to themselves and the world. Finally, the most profound realization comes when intelligent individuals understand that their true power lies not in being understood by others, but in being true to themselves. The more we try to conform to others' expectations, intellectual or otherwise, the more we lose touch with our authentic selves. The intelligent individual who embraces their own truth and stops seeking validation from others creates space for genuine connection. This is where true fulfillment lies, not in external success or recognition, but in the freedom to live authentically, unapologetically expressing one's intellect, emotions, and inner truth. Once the intelligent person stops seeing themselves as separate from others, they begin to see that all people, regardless of intellect, share the same basic human needs: connection, meaning, and self-expression. This final realization marks the shift from loneliness to belonging. By embracing the isolation that intelligence often brings, the individual can reconnect with themselves and others in a way that is authentic and fulfilling. This shift doesn't diminish the importance of intellect. Instead, it allows the intelligent person to use their intellect as a tool for personal growth and contribution, rather than a barrier to connection. The journey to understanding the dark side of intelligence and isolation is not one of despair, but one of self-liberation. By embracing the role of the outsider, the intelligent individual can break free from the trap of intellectual loneliness. Solitude, when chosen consciously, becomes a source of creativity and growth, not a prison. And in the end, true connection with others comes not from conformity or validation, but from the courage to live authentically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. In embracing their true self and their unique perspective, intelligent individuals can break free from the isolation that once defined them. They can live a life of meaning, purpose, and fulfillment, knowing that their intelligence, when used authentically, is not a curse but a gift, one that can shape not only their own life but the world around them. The intelligent individual who embraces their intellect as a source of power, rather than isolation, can unlock a life of profound self-expression, connection, and purpose.